Do you feel like your spiritual health is somehow connected to reading the Bible?
Now I do. So I will say this is one good thing about COVID. There's been a couple good things about COVID. And one of them is I had more time alone at home. And I started reading the Bible. And I mean, I've, grew up in Christian schools, Christian church, all that, right? But when I read the first Genesis 1:1 and how God hovered over the earth, I thought, oh my God, God hovered over the earth and God's hovering here. And I feel like now, of course, I'm coloring the Bible too. It's the coloring Bible, which I really like. And it's like been a whole thing for me. And I feel like my relationship with God, my spiritual life and growth has like skyrocketed because I've had that time alone and I'm coloring and I'm like reading these stories and saying, wow, these people were such real people back then, and there was such bloodshed and such sin and such, poor Moses and Aaron.
I just had it. Oh,
Or
I'm sorry.
them. No, go ahead.
I do this a lot.
Anyway.
Have you noticed how much I cut her off?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know. I
And
know.
and what is she? She just goes
I'm aware, and I'm trying.
patient.
I'm trying to work
You're
on it, people.
welcome.
patient. I know. See, it's just the teeter-totter.
Yes. When I watch the podcast, I'm cringing
Oh,
because I know I do it, but
what were you going
I'm
to say?
working on it. Am I getting better?
You are. I didn't have anything to say at that
Oh,
moment.
okay. Well then.
He was cutting you off. That's why he said it.
Yeah, no, just Moses and Aaron, and I just feel bad. I didn't realize how bad I feel for Moses and Aaron. And they, like the children of Israel, just kept on and kept on and kept on, and they kept on, anyway,
Being idiots.
being idiots. Yeah. Of course, it was real hot, and they just kept circling and circling, so I probably would have been crazy. too.
Hangry, hot.
Hangry, hot.
Well,
Yeah.
at that time, that place wasn't so deserty.
Really?
So, like, Egypt was maybe more similar to the Amazon at that time. It was
Oh.
very lush and filled with life.
Really?
That's why people were there. It wasn't just, they didn't just live
Seriously?
in a desert and just, like,
I didn't
eat
know that.
bugs.
Yeah, because I thought they were just going through all the sand and everything like the movies.
I mean,
Right.
they might have gotten lost there, but historically during that time, like they've looked back, and I mean, terrain changes all the time and
Yeah.
stuff. And during that time, it was lush. It was a nice place. It was the place to be.
Plus, there was manna falling down.
Yeah.
Well, here's an interesting thought. What?
No, I want to see what you had to
Speaking of like Genesis.
It's my favorite book, by the way.
say. Is it really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
It's pretty good.
It's so many stories. I was like, this isn't Genesis, this isn't Genesis, this isn't Genesis.
Yeah.
All these famous stories. Why is it your favorite book?
Well, I, as a creative person, just have always been drawn to like the very first creation and like how creative God is, and I feel like it's so cool because I feel like everyone likes, like you like finding things that are similar about you and your parents. Like, oh, like we both, when we do our little same laugh where we have like
and
three
then go- and then,
motions,
right,
we're like,
all
oh,
in a
that's so
row.
cute. And so I feel like it's the same thing with God. I was like, oh, like that's so cool. Like we're the same in this way. And so every single time like you create something, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And so that's like really the only time it talks about him creating
Right.
everything. And so
Right.
I just have always found it
is
so interesting.
miraculous. And when you look out on all the creation and the horizon and the clouds and the bird, all
Yeah.
the zoo today, everything, it's like, my goodness.
Yeah. We're like
God
this
created
far
all
from
of
a
this.
giraffe.
Those cool right? We were that far from a giraffe. Those cool monkeys.
Yeah.
and God created all this, and each monkey looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
fluffy monkeys, I want to snuggle those.
I didn't really like
Now
them.
we've cut you off, so you can go ahead.
That's all right. See, I don't get mad like you.
I never get mad.
She doesn't get mad.
So you know how I thought of this recently because have you heard like the controversy about the shape of the Earth?
Flat Earth.
There's a lot of people that think
there's
it's flat.
a new flat Earth theory.
There's a lot
No,
of
it's
people
an
that think
old
it's flat.
flat Earth theory.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's old theory.
But
Yeah.
it's really
And then we have
interesting.
pictures from the sky.
Well, do we?
Oh
Do
no! Did we really go to the moon?
Well, you can take a GoPro and make a curvature to this table.
It's all just created. They're all fooling us.
See, I definitely tend to be more like you. And when people brought that up to me at first, I was just like,
Whatever.
why are
an
we even
idiot.
talking right now?
Right,
Shut
yeah.
up. You know, but in Genesis it says the earth was formless.
Without form and void. Yes,
Yeah.
formless. Yeah. But
Isn't
then
that
God-
interesting?
Yes.
Doesn't say the earth was a ball. Doesn't say it was round.
No, but so it left that part. I mean, so it didn't say that. That doesn't mean it isn't.
It was formless and void, but there was water on it.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
I don't think. Do you really think it means there's a possibility it's not round? I don't know. I feel like there's so much evidence that it is.
I think
Astronauts went there and back, and we've got pictures.
here's-
and
here's
big
wh-
round
here's-
marble.
actually the reason that I actually give the flat earth theory any thought at all is because I've never been to space. I've never been in a place where I could even see the earth.
I mean,
but so I'm trusting what they
Yes.
they say,
you don't
the
trust.
proverbial they.
Yes,
Look at all the shit they say. Like
you've never been to Australia either. Do you believe there's kangaroos? I mean, have you ever seen a kangaroo? Do you believe there's a kangaroo?
well, I mean,
In their cute little pouches.
that's not
You don't think it's the same?
no, that's not.
Have
the
you ever
same.
been to Europe and seen the cathedrals?
But I have, and he knows me.
That's different. That's different though. But like, look how much I feel like the government says what they need to say to get what they want. It's just like kind of like church. They need something from people. Like with small churches, they're way more pushy to get volunteers than with like a big church who's like floating along.
Do what
right?
you want. Yeah, you can sit in the back corner if you want to.
They don't need to hustle as much, and so I feel like that corrupts people when they need something, and especially if they don't believe in God and have like that upbringing where they have like a moral compass.
At all.
Like who's to say what they're okay with doing?
Yeah.
If they think that their ultimate cause is going to be more beneficial for them or mankind, why wouldn't they lie?
But all those astronauts that have been to the moon and taken pictures of Earth and
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying I think it's flat. I'm not.
yeah,
But it is interesting. And then what you
Thought
said about
provoking.
Genesis reminded me, because after that, because it's kind of been more common lately, or at least more heard of lately because of like social media. But I feel like, it is interesting that it does say in Genesis it was formless. So it doesn't say it was like a round
But it had
thing.
water, so what?
But that's not formless.
Right, so that doesn't make
Like
any
a
sense.
circle is a definite form.
Right.
without form and void. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I guess I still always pictured it as round. But you're right. Round is a form, so God made it into a round. I don't know. I guess why is that not important to me? Like I don't care. I mean I don't care if it's round or flat. I mean I think it's round,
Excuse me.
but I don't really. I don't know. I mean to me the cool part is God hovered on the earth, and I love the word hovering, and I feel like He's hovering here, and He hovers with us, and He's around us, and He created all these cool things, the giraffes and the monkeys and us.
See, I do think happier people don't worry about those things.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I don't really care. That's interesting.
But the Bible does say to consider
Yeah,
consider
okay.
things.
Sure.
Well, I was the one, frankly, who brought the flat earth thing to his to
Do you
him.
care?
I care in the sense that I think there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that are being shoved in front of our face, and I think we should question more than we do. Naturally, I'm not done, but we'll get to you, Peach. Thank you. And I think that it's important to think about things like that have possibly been pushed for a long
Sure.
time,
So yeah.
you know, and like that interview that Obama did with Oprah. Obama was totally on a green screen, but like when you watch the interview, you would not know that unless they shared the little clip before, like, oh, this is so crazy. Look, I'm playing footsies with you, but I'm not actually here. But it like,
And why is
You wouldn't
that?
question it.
That's important because you can create things like that look
You
like
can-
reality.
yeah. And I mean, obviously people in movies do it all the time, but we know that it's a movie. But
That looked like it was reality.
right, and it wasn't. And so
Right, so
I feel
you
like
can
there's
create-
a lot of things that are pushed like that. And so that's what I would just like to question, you know, and for only though when it affects like my everyday life, like the round flat thing doesn't affect my everyday life,
Right.
obviously, but I think it's interesting to think about. And I 100% can't prove it unless I personally go to space and see what it's all about, you know. But yeah, when things start to affect me every single day and what I can and can't do, then I'm like, okay, well, this is now interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
Is it PJ's turn now?
Yes. I'm done talking. PJ, you can go. Thank you for raising your hand and helping me. I appreciate that.
so, you know how like if someone like betrays your trust, it's hard to just think anything else they say is true. So it's like
It's a good point.
I mean it just is what it is. Like the mask thing. I mean,
Yeah.
we literally have footage of the people saying masks are so helpful, saying that masks
And then
aren't
being
so
in
helpful.
a big group and
And
not wearing masks. Them saying it's helpful and not helpful, helpful, not helpful.
Right, and then like the common sense aspect of like, oh, there's germs on my hand, like I shouldn't touch my
Right.
face, but I'm gonna
Right.
put a permanent fixture on my face.
Because in surgery,
And
it's
then have
not
to do
like,
this?
I mean, they wear it in surgery, but it's not like they're going like this. Somebody
Heck
else
no.
is doing that for
If
them.
that doctor touched his
And-
face, they would have to wash
Yeah.
their hands
Right.
and start over.
And they do that in surgery so they don't spit into the wound or
Right.
blood from the patient doesn't
Right.
get into, like, they're not protecting them from, like, getting the flu by being in surgery.
Yeah.
So it's either that. Well, no, it's just that they think we're so stupid, and some people are, and a lot more people than I thought like would just willingly go along with this for so long. It like boggles my mind, but I mean like because I'm germophobic. I literally am a germophobe.
In
I'm
the beginning,
obsessive
he was
compulsive.
wearing his painting mask.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but the thing here to me is like.
Yeah.
I also use my brain and like I don't want to go into a store and be going about my business and then be asked to put a mask on after I've been touching the doorknob, these things that other people touch, you know, that
Right.
I don't know who's touched that stuff. And I think
Right.
about that stuff. I obsess about that stuff because that's my way.
I know.
And so it's like, now you want me to put a mask on and that's supposed to help
Yeah.
me? No.
Right.
Like I know that's not helpful. My hands are not clean right now.
Yeah.
And so you just have to go around with a mask on everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what people are doing. Anyway, my point is like I do have to question anything that like the government says about anything
Been
because
weird.
they're allowing this kind of crazy ass
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. No,
I can't
it's all right.
cuss on the podcast with
Thank
you. Mom.
you. Aw, thank you. It's
You-
not like I don't cuss, just not probably here.
Right.
I mean, I do. I cuss sometimes. I'm a sinner.
But it's like the trust has been broken with me with that. It's like
Yeah.
it might be a small thing, but it's because they made such a small thing so big,
Yeah.
and they're willing to push it with money. Like how much money has gone into
Yeah.
this mask push?
Yeah.
Like what is going on?
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to believe just like
Yeah.
everything else you say. You have to question everything else after your trust has been betrayed. I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to not trust my government.
Yeah.
And I do still think it is still the best nation. I just want to put that out there. I'm not
There's
trying to go.
that.
I'm not trying to
There's
go
that.
somewhere else.
Right.
But
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But-
I was surprised that here in Texas, because I thought it was going to be different than California.
It's not much.
I don't feel like it's any different, honestly.
It's not much.
I mean, I walked into a store in California, my friend and I, into a home improvement store, and accidentally we were in there for a half an hour, and 10 minutes into it, we walked by somebody and they had their mask on, and I was like, oh, we have our masks on. And literally nobody ever said anything to us. We were in there for 30 minutes.
Right.
But I feel like almost every place we've been in here, we've been
Which
asked
is
to put
funny.
a mask on.
It's funny because, well, other than like the zoo, because it did say like on their website
Right.
that was a thing, but in a grocery store hasn't been a problem, which is so
Until
funny.
I was here.
Well, PJ had one experience, but
No.
I haven't had an experience in the grocery store by myself or with you where it's been
A thing.
a thing.
Yeah.
You said by yourself?
Yeah, by myself or with you. Where
Target.
yes, but then we said
No,
no.
Well, that
thank
was
you.
the issue.
It was, and then we said it's against our beliefs, and then he walked away. Like he can't do anything. And
Yeah. But the Sprouts thing was different.
The Sprouts thing was different because,
Yeah.
like,
She
my
was
whole
starting to
family was
make a
there.
thing.
I would have made it a thing if you guys
Yeah,
weren't there.
I know. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like they, if I go in a place by myself, I feel like people assume, oh, I feel like when he goes in places by himself, they think like, oh, he's trying to be like,
Yeah.
whatever. But I feel like they're like, oh, she's like,
There with her
there's something wrong with her. Like, she has autoimmune something probably. Like, literally, I walked past a mask station where they were handing out, and he had a whole thing. He had to walk right by it to go in, and I smiled. And then, nope, he didn't say
You're
anything.
friendlier looking.
I think they
You're
just,
more ominous.
I just think they
I
probably
walk
think,
in and they're like,
Yeah.
how you doing
he's a
today, sir?
thug.
What?
Please put
Yeah.
this on right.
Not putting it on?
I just think they, probably think he's doing it not because something's wrong with him.
I just, when I don't know that much about history as I would like to, but there's been plenty of other things, and I feel like this too shall pass. And so to me, I'm like, I don't like it. I disagree with it, but it's not a big enough deal for me to stand up in Sprouts and like make a thing about it, because I just feel like
See,
it'll pass.
I disagree with that because I feel like if you don't, then who will? Like, if we all are just like, well, let's just nobody say anything.
I mean, the masks at first, okay, but it hasn't passed. It's gotten worse.
You're right.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
gotten-
been a
And I actually do
long
trust
time.
science. I trust science. I believe in science. I 100% believe in science.
So we have to start a debate on that later, but about other scientific things.
Oh,
but
yeah, because
okay.
I can back it up with science.
Okay.
And so the science says masks don't help. At the beginning, they were like, well, we're not sure,
Right.
so let's do it. I was like, okay, sure, obviously, like, this sounds
Right.
terrible. I don't want me or
Right.
my family to get that.
Yeah.
And then, we've gotten it, and it
Right.
wasn't bad.
Yeah,
and
but other people you can't say that because other people have died. So, I mean, I think it's a bad thing, but I don't know that the masks help. I mean,
I
this
think
is a
the
mask
the
debate.
flu's
It's not-
also bad.
It's not a.
I've also
yeah.
gotten the flu. I felt way worse, but I was also a lot less healthy when I got the flu than I am now. I will say, my lifestyle was a lot less healthy than it is now, and I think that has something to do with it. But then so the mask thing was like, okay, we're not
I
really
don't get
sure.
sick nearly as much as I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I can't remember the last time I've gotten really sick.
Yeah.
Like, you build up immunities. That's what immunizations are for. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
It is, and we have so many natural immunities. That's really awesome. So, but then now science is coming out saying that masks don't work, and so do you? It's like
Yeah.
they literally do so many scientific tests, and now it's like, well, if you wear 2 masks, then that's better. But there's no studies to prove that. The studies only prove that the mask that we're wearing, if you're wearing like N9, not N95, the painting mask where it actually filters stuff out, sure. So if everyone wants to walk around in gas masks,
Right.
okay,
Well, that's not. You know what? Even that isn't.
not 100%.
It's not made for that. It's not.
It's not.
So I don't want to get carried away with all the details, but But I do feel like it's interesting. I'm having this like correlation between the masks and like gun control, because you were saying how like this too shall pass. Well, like the gun control has been like a thing for like a long time, right? Like years and years and decades. Like some people don't think guns are safe. Other people think they're safe because the people that misuse them. And I think the people with masks aren't safe because they misuse them. Masks are being misused. Like, you can't go out and not see somebody doing this.
Right.
Adjusting that thing with their hands that have been who knows where. They might have just scratched their butthole.
Right.
And now it's all over their face.
They just
Right.
went to the bathroom, opened the bathroom door, and now they're
Right.
touching all of these boxes and then touching
I mean, that
their face.
happens.
Right.
That
It
is-
does.
That's the truth.
People do that without masks.
When they
People
drop
that
on
wear
the floor.
masks, people that
Yes.
wear those things for their profession to
It's a whole different
Right, that's totally
routine.
different.
Yeah,
And-
you
and
want your
they
surgeon
don't-
to have a mask
I
on.
totally do. And they
Yeah.
don't touch their masks.
No,
and they don't touch their gloves. They
That's
stand there like
right.
this. Other people
Right.
take that stuff off.
That's right.
So unless you're doing that in a
Mm-hmm.
grocery store, I mean,
we got off on the mask thing because we were talking about
The Bible, in the validity of the Bible, and
Oh,
just
oh.
believing what people say.
Right, and people having too much authority or control or using things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
So there was a Joyce Meyer clip that I watched, and it was about being joyful and forgiving and all that. And I guess I think that's how I feel about my personal life, about anything that's been bad in my childhood. And I mean, I get it because I feel like my mom embarrassing me or my mom like whatever. But then when I look back, I'm like, you know what? She gave me a great life too. She's the one that dropped me off at church, and she's the one that made sure I was in Christian schools along with Aunt Arlene. But I just feel like joyful and forgiving. Yes, not to the point where you're abused, and so you shouldn't necessarily trust everything. But I just would rather. I just feel like that was what Joyce Meyer says, like the devil can get in when you're just bitter and mad all the time. And I just don't want to be bitter and mad all the time. I want to have Jesus in me and be happy instead of being mad at everybody all the time.
yeah, I think that I agree with that, and I feel like that's how I used to be. And I feel like not. I mean, obviously with my self still intact, like all the criticalness and perfectionist stuff. But like, as far as like being more like positively charged or something, or focusing more on that stuff. Like, I do feel like there was a time where I wasn't as like hypercritical, and I think part of it is because at the church that we were at, the people that we like had on that pedestal where it's like, these are the ultimate leaders. Like, gosh, I got to aspire to be like them. How can they be they're so holy and so wise, and all this stuff. And they were so negative, and and there were times where like actual like legitimate celebratory like things were treated like that's not
how
not
could
good.
you dare think that that's awesome?
Yeah. Or like, what is this crappy video? Or, like what the heck happened? Okay, what happened with worship guys? Like just so much like negativity that it's like I feel like it's kind of ingrained in me to like a performance thing. Like you have to perform. If you're not, then things aren't good. Because like the mission is paramount, like reaching people with the gospel is way more important than actually enjoying your life or enjoying preaching the gospel or.
So it makes me think of that. I mean, I don't know if trite's the right word or whatever, but it's just the church versus or God versus church and people thing. And so I guess I just feel like Jesus didn't like that either. Jesus didn't like the Pharisees. And Jesus didn't like that people were so focused on the rules and putting the lunches in certain spots so you could walk out. And it's just a modern day version of that. And I guess I feel like that's why Jesus came, was for us to be able to get rid of that. And so I guess I would want that. I mean, we've talked about, I have different things in my life that I feel like I could hold on to that and never be happy again in this kind of a setting. And so I just hope that, I mean, I just feel like they were broken people and they did some bad stuff, and that, pray for them and hope they can move on, and then life is so much better now. Look at everything now.
Right.
I just feel like it
Well,
created something beautiful.
yes, and I see that stuff.
You don't feel like it was? The Joyce Meyer piece about it's letting the devil back in by not putting that aside, I guess.
No, and that's where I feel like that's
Where we're different, that's okay.
not where we're different. That's where we're just like we're miscommunicating about it, and I feel like maybe misrepresenting it. Maybe I could be doing a better job of communicating about.
You're a good communicator.
Well, because I say that because it's like I'm not missing the positive stuff. I'm so much happier now with life, and it's just like mind-boggling. But to me, that doesn't negate the benefit of addressing real issues with things that happen to us and things that are happening to other people through churches that are not good. There's churches that are good, I think, like Gateway Church, but there are churches that really mess you up. It's not just that they were, excuse me. It's not just that they did something hurtful, and I can see that, and so I'm just gonna let that roll off my back because that doesn't affect my life, because that's not the level that we were at. We weren't just attending a church. Like we were literally completely
I get it, but people's lives can be, you can live years and years with people, and that's your whole life. But if you...
Well, that's where I feel like the therapy thing comes in, and we do need... Well, I can't speak for you, but I feel like I do need help with the way I see that experience and where I'm at with it and stuff. So...
And the positivity of God using it. I just feel like God used that.
Well, see, I don't feel like I don't feel like, a divorce shakes your faith as much as being
It's less foundational, but
being completely betrayed by your own church. It's like, how does that not relate?
Is that
how can
worse
you not?
than, I guess maybe it's worse. I don't know. Is that worse than being betrayed by your spouse?
No, it's not worse.
Can you
It's
love
not
again?
worse and
No.
less painful. It's just it's related to my belief in God. So what you're saying about I think you can still trust in God, or something you said about God. For me, God's wrapped up in the pain of remedy, and so it's like I have to sift through all the bullshit that I assign to God because of remedy and figure out what do I actually...
And I think God wants you to do that. Don't get me wrong. I think God appreciates you doing that. I think God wants you to do that. I feel like it's like David, my favorite person in the Bible. So yours was Solomon.
Exactly.
Mine was David because, David had a very colorful life, but he was always honest with God. He was honest in his worship and song, and he was honest when he was depressed and sinning, and he'd always come back to God and be honest with him. So I feel like you're being honest. I think because you're my family now, I want happiness, and I want you to be able to build on that and not continue to be pissed off. I want you to be happy and then, okay, so this is a bad church and these are the things bad about a church, but then go from that and learn and watch for the signs, and now this is how you can move forward. And so what do you do? So now here's where we are and here's what we've learned, and what do you do to move forward? So what are the things you look for in a new church? What are the things you look for in a new relationship? How do you get therapy and get past it? And what do you do now?
And I will say, I feel like the way that you got over your divorce was awesome. I feel like you did a great job. And I feel like some people take a lot longer.
That was my journey, and there's other journeys.
Yeah, some people take a lot longer to get over that.
That's fair.
And neither is wrong.
Right, that's fair.
And yeah, so I just want to say that too. Like, I feel like there are people who, I feel like I am more like over it, I guess, if you'll say it in those terms, than PJ. Mm-hmm. But he's also, he's a much deeper feeler and thinker than I am.
Mm-hmm. And that was almost twice as long.
Right.
Exactly.
That too. Yeah.
And even just us sharing our church experience growing up, I feel like I was way more involved and grew up longer in church, and Remedy was like more of a foundational church experience for you, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
As far as things like that. And so I feel like, it might take him a little bit longer, but I don't feel like that's wrong, and I don't feel like he is like very negative in regular life. Like, he's always appreciating me and Arrow, and like saying how happy he is to be with me, and how like beautiful he thinks I am, and stuff like that. And it's really good.
Right.
So I don't feel like his life is just like all this.
The podcast,
Yeah, but I do feel like this is an outlet for us to express some things that we haven't been able to talk about. For him, for like, the whole 10 years that he was there, it's hard to talk about that stuff. And so, things keep coming up. And if you've been wronged in a relationship, it is hard to go into a new relationship being like, well, are you sure you're not going to do this to me? Like, I don't know. Like,
right. But we all get there in a different spot.
Yeah. So I just feel like, if you know women in your life that have a totally different path than you had.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And another thing, too.
Right. Good point.
Another thing, too, I just thought of is like the trauma thing. Like, trauma is really a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget where we heard it, but they were talking about when people have experienced the trauma, you can tell because 30 years later they're still talking about it like it just happened. Because they're trying to make sense of it. They're in this loop. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, weird. That's like me. Like, because I at the time I was at the barbershop. And if religion or church or anything came up, like it almost inevitably went to I was here and this happened, and I would like somehow weave it into the conversation because it's part of where I'm at, and so I think there is like a legitimate like trauma, which to me feels like I'm a weakling to say that.
No. That's a thing for sure.
But I do feel like there is something that messed me up. Like changed my core, and so if I were to just try and over positivize that, I don't know what the word is for that.
Yeah, no.
Then it would be like aborting my healing process, because I don't understand it yet. I'm still trying to make sense of it. I'm still trying to like fit the pieces together in such a way that it's like, I could say to somebody, like, I've been there, and there's hope. Like, you can get through it, because I have like such still legitimate deep struggles with God and church and everything that looks like that. So
we all have a different journey, I guess.
Yeah.
That's why you guys are good together, because you appreciate your different journeys.
But I do feel like something really positive could come from this if we do it right, because I think there's a lot of people involved in this realm of like church experience or spiritual therapy, or I don't know. It's just I feel like the stuff that we went through is like unspoken. It's like somewhat unspoken in like Christian community because people feel like that's gonna be loud. Because people feel like I don't want to gossip. I don't want to not be forgiving. I don't want to like I guess that's it. Just like be gossipy or like unforgiving or negative, you know. And I'm just always kind of like that 11th man where it's like, well, but what about this thing no one's considered? Like, why don't we, you know, just like consider this different way? I don't know.
And there have been people, like random people, that have reached out that have been like, wow, I'm binging your podcast and like everything is like clicking. It totally makes sense. Like now I get what happened to me.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I almost kind of feel like maybe you don't fully believe it was a cult.
No, I 100% think it was a cult.
Okay.
100% it was a cult.
I mean,
Yes.
We're all in agreement
Yes.
here.
No. I think for me, it's been a good enough amount of time that because I love you guys and you're my family, I want you to heal. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like Blake said, healing's different for everybody and different paths to get there. But I mean, I want you to heal, and I want this to be something that can be helpful to people instead of, you know, continuing to like this darn thing about the church and this darn thing about the church. And it's like, okay, well, so now that happened, what do we do to move forward? And what are the steps you take to move forward? And gosh, I'm so thankful now that God pulled me out of that, and there was people that helped pull me out of that. And so now I'm, you know, changing courses. So I guess my prayer for you is that you can not be mad about it anymore, but it's going on a positive
I don't
path.
think I am mad about it.
I'm not mad about it.
I think
know
if you
you're
watch
not.
if you watch the recent podcasts, you would think that I'm mad about it because there's huge gaps sometimes between our like sessions. But kind of lost my train of thought there. But
I mean, you know, my thing is the more I hear what you're saying. To talk about this is to bring it to light, and that's important to bring it to light because you don't want other people to have to live through that cult that you lived through. So I think that's important. I also think it's important, though, to say, all right, we lived through that cult, and these are the signs. And I guess I said that before. Here's what you do to move forward, but I guess I just want that for you. I mean, I want it to be...
yeah.
Well, and that's why I feel like this is interesting because it's not like we started the podcast being like, we went through this and now we're healed and now we're
Right.
healed.
No,
We're here to help you because I feel like,
This was part of your process.
yeah. And I do feel like
Yeah.
when people like preach or something and they say stuff like that, I'm like, okay, cool. You know, but like, how was it actually like when you
Right.
were going through it?
Right.
And so I feel like this is us going through it.
Right.
And then I
Yep.
do feel like eventually it's going to be not maybe like, you know,
Sunshine and rainbows.
85% positive or something, you know, or whatever. But yeah, I feel like it's our whole process documented in
Yeah.
a way. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
interesting. And I feel like to me, I like seeing that side of people better. That helps me.
It's real. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
feel more, I guess, trusting and connected to people that say stuff
Sure.
like that than to just be like, well, I went through this and now I'm awesome. And it's like,
yeah, you can
okay.
get through it too. Right.
yeah, it's like, well,
Right.
I know I can, but like what happened in the meantime?
Right.
And so I feel like right now it's like the meantime.
Yeah. That's good. It's the meantime.
Yeah, I would like to see this kind of turn into something that could be, like, on one hand, empowering for people that think they're going to go to hell if they leave a cult.
Yeah. The leaving part's a big deal.
It's a hard
Yeah,
thing.
like
Yeah.
I think maybe we could communicate better, like that you're going to be okay if you leave. Like God's not going to smite you
Right,
if you stop
right.
tithing,
Right.
Because you're struggling with believing in that or something.
Right. It's not a commandment, by the way. I learned that in high school at my Christian school, and because I felt guilty if I didn't. And it's not like it's God doesn't hate you if you don't tithe.
Right.
You do it because you want to. He wants you to do it because you love him.
Right.
and you
Actually,
want
we
to.
just talked about that.
We did.
Because I was feeling like in church, like a couple weeks ago, I was thinking, I don't think they were talking about tithing. I might have just been like off on a thought, but
Yeah,
like
they don't talk about it.
I was
They
thinking.
don't talk about it.
No.
They do one series a year where he goes over like what the Bible says about tithing, but every Sunday, like they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's
Big
nice.
deal.
But I had this thought, like, there was definitely when I stopped tithing, because it wasn't when we left. I found places to tithe to because I was so like religious about that, and so it actually took faith for me to stop tithing and think that God would
That's
still be okay with me.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it's not that I don't believe in tithing and all the heart behind that. It's that I felt like if I miss it,
heart
if I give
wasn't-
9%, I'm screwed.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right. The devourer is going to come on my finances and I'm not going to be able to
Wow.
blah, 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 whatever.
Wow.
That hole in my pocket's just not going to get tied up.
Yeah, but then also, I see that I would really like if this podcast could somehow be like affiliated with churches in like helping them to not do these things, because like when we were at Remedy, I was like so much wanting to can we talk about this BS that's happening? It's so stupid. People don't like it. It's like, why are we doing it? And I feel like there's a lot of things that people don't bring up that I am happy to bring up. And so maybe somehow we could
Yeah,
help.
You're the poker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow we
Well,
could
it's
help
good. There has to
churches to be better churches,
some.
like, and keep doing church. And I don't know how that would happen, but I do feel like our experience is somehow wrapped up with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like neither of us think that the idea of church is bad, and we both loved church growing up. And even at Remedy, like, I loved it, a lot of it,
Yeah.
But I do think that there's a lot of things that can be better and need to change.
Thank you for checking out the Church Podcast. Please like and subscribe to our channel. To support the channel, go to patreon.com/The Church Podcast. If you have any information or an idea that could improve the Church Podcast, please leave a comment or leave a private message through our social accounts. Take care.